HOSOMI, the CEO of HOSTEP LLC. Dr. Akira HOSOMI completed his BSc in Policy and Planning Science from University of Tsukuba, Japan. And in 2001, he earned a PhD in built environments from Tokyo Institute of Technology, Japan. And he's used to serve as the chief representative of Vietnam office for Japan, the national consultant for transportation. He has more than 14 years working in Vietnam, and he is one of the authors of Kiswell 2.0, and he's engaged in operation and maintenance consulting service for Jakarta MRT as a railway management group leaders until March 2020. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Akira HOSOMI to present his talk entitled Development and Futures of Railway Feed, Kiswell 2.0, Urban for Tomorrow, Planning, Construction, and Operations. Please, Dr. Akira HOSOMI, present your work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tui, for introducing me. And first of all, congratulations on the holding this COREST 7 2021. I know that you had a very difficult time because of the COVID. I understand that once you try to open this one on May this year, but it was postponed to this time, and still this is the online. But the good thing that in Vietnam the situation of the COVID is getting better. So yeah, I think that's that's a good thing. And today I'd like to present the topic about development and future of railway using the book which Dr. Tui just introduced. I think he already briefly explained my CV, so I'm not explaining one by one. Anyway, that I'm the one who proposed about the current Ho Chi Minh Metro Line 1 Ben Thanh Suy Tien in 2005, and since then I'm working for that project. And aside from that, I have some projects in Hanoi, and also recently I completed some tasks in Jakarta, Indonesia. So first of all, I'd like to explain briefly about the railway in Japan. Okay, so this is the metro or subway route map in Tokyo. As you can see, there are starting lines only for subway. And aside from that, there are commuter rail, which is operated by the JR group. So let's say Tokyo, maybe some of you visited Tokyo already. Tokyo is the kind of heaven of the railway, let's say. And then the nationwide, the map shows about the network, the main network in the JR Japan Railway Group, that is the equivalent to the Vietnam Railway here in Vietnam. But not only the public railway group, but also there are many private railway companies, which is composing the more than 200 railway operators in Japan. Only 7 from the former national railways, that is JR group. But the 200 other private railway companies are operating mainly in the urban area. So that is the one characteristics of Japan. And there are many types of the railways, as you can see here. And actually that the same as in Vietnam, Japan Railway was originally operated by the government, that is Japan National Railways. But due to the financial difficulties of the operation and maintenance, government decided to privatize in 1987, divided into 6 groups plus fleet. So this is the Hokkaido, JR East, JR Central, JR West, and JR Shikoku, and then JR Kyushu. And the characteristics of the Japanese railway is that the other many countries like Europe and USA and other countries, basically the railway is operated in vertical separation, meaning operator and infrastructure holding body are separated. Basically, infrastructure holding bodies are related to the government, and operators are just paying the surcharge to use this one. But in case of Japan, especially for the JR and also the private railway company, which I explained, that all station track rolling stocks are owned by each company. So that is the characteristics of the railway system in Japan. And this figure shows the modal share by the passenger kilometer that is a bit old, but you can see here that other developed countries like UK, Germany, and France, the share of the railway is less than 10%, while in Japan, it is the 30% shared by the railway. So we can see that Japan is kind of very strong in the railway. And I think you may see sometimes this kind of the picture. That is one of the stations in Japan. And this is, of course, this is before COVID. Yeah, let's say. And yeah, like this. So actually, this is very intense. So, but this situation is not starting recently, but it's already starting in the 60s. That is already 60 years ago. So at that time, the peak load factor was already more than 300%. So the three times higher than capacity. That is already the situation. To solve this situation, we invested a lot to the railway system. And due to that, now the peak load factor is more or less 200%, but still double from the capacity. But we try to continue to invest to reduce this number by providing a frequent service like every 3 minutes during the peak hour or something. And one of the characteristics of the Japanese railway is that the punctuality. I think you may hear maybe you may saw some news that the Japanese railway was apologized that due to the 1 minute delay or something, but yeah, actually it's true. So you can see here that this is the average delay peak train, conventional train, and also Shinkansen. In even a conventional train, that the average delay is just about 1 minute, while the Shinkansen recently it is less than, let's say, 20 or 15 seconds is the average delay. And also this is the failure rate of the rolling stock. Just for your reference, that in the European country, this figure by measured by the number of failure per 100,000 kilometer. But in Japan, we get this data by 1 million number of failure per 1 million kilometer. So I think our system is really reliable, let's say. And this figure shows the number of the population of the city in the world. So you can see that there are many cities, number of population is increasing, especially in Asian region. And of course, the population increased. So problem related to the concentration of the population is also increasing. So focusing on Asia, there are so many, let's say, mega city. You can see here, of course, in Vietnam, there are Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, but there are also other many, we call mega city, like or in Asian cities. So using the Japanese experience, which we started more than 60 years ago, to dealing with that kind of the dense population, and the emerging cities, like you can see here, that the Japanese government is trying to support for the railway system in the Asian countries, and that is the main topic of today. That I'd like to introduce one book. We put the name Kiss Rail version 2. Kiss Rail it's a bit catchy name, but actually Kiss is from Key to implement successfully sustainable urban railways. So this book actually, this book is sorry, I can see. Sorry, like this. Yeah. So this book is published this year actually, but this. You can see there's the version 2. So version 1, actually Kiss Rail was published in 2005. But at that time, we just kind of started to introduce the Japanese system. And after 15 years, we have some experience to support the railway project in the Asian country, Jakarta, Ho Chi Minh City, Bangkok, Cairo, and Dhaka, and also Hanoi, that we try to get some, know-how about how to make a better, good railway project in the world. So yeah, so this is the introduction, and actually that there are English version and also starting from Japanese version, but recently. Good news to you that the Vietnamese version just completed, I think this week. We cooperated with the Vietnam Railway College, RC in Hanoi. So they just completed the Vietnamese version of this book. So if you are interested in Vietnamese version, please contact with the Vietnam Railway person. Sorry. I could not put the contact number, contact here, but maybe you may know somebody in the railway college. So I'd like to briefly explain about the contents of this one. There are 11 chapters for this book, but today, due to the time constraint, I'd like to focus on the two chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 4. Okay, so as I already explained, that the growth of the personal means of transportation due to the emerging cities, the population increasing as a mega city in Asia is getting intense. So the traffic situation is getting worse, but it's not easy to increase the passenger or urban railway by attracting citizens accustomed in the private transport system. So I think of course you know already, but in Hanoi, the urban railway line 2A, Captain Hadong, was just started operation this week. That is congratulations. But I think the problem is that how to attract the people to use such urban railways, especially in Vietnam. More than 80%, nearly 90% of people are using motorbike. So how to attract those people to the urban railway is one of the key issues. Also, that issue is same in Ho Chi Minh City Line 1. So I just get some data for the growth of the private vehicle, Jakarta and Bangkok. So even the two big cities, Jakarta and Bangkok, still the automobile and the car and the motorcycle, both numbers are still increasing. In case of Bangkok, it's a bit decreasing, but in total, car and motorcycle is already increasing. So this is, and especially in the Bangkok, as you can see, there are some investment for the MRT, SkyTrain and MRT, metro. It's down, but still private vehicles are still increasing. So we really have to deal with this situation. And I just want to focus today about the chapter 4, that is the sound financial system. Even if you have the good infrastructure, but if you don't have the sustainable financial system for operation and maintenance, that could be very difficult. And especially not especially, but there are many projects in Vietnam, transportation project is conducted by the PPP, private-public partnership. But I think for the railway or port, for the highway or port or other area of the transportation, I think that could be successful. But talking about the urban railway, metro, I can say that is very difficult, I can say. Because of there are some experience in the other Asian cities. So as you can see this table here, that the most of the PPP project for urban railway are not successful. Showing the Manila, Singapore is quite good, but basically that is not PPP. And Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, and the number 9 of the Seoul metro, and also Delhi airport link of the Delhi, basically in deficit or bankrupt of the business. So why this happened? So you can see that unlike road and electricity, passengers are free to select their mode of transportation. Because road and electricity, the market is dominant. So the people have to use that road or that electricity. But urban railway, they have other choice. That is the private mode. So even if we develop the urban railway metro, but we cannot force people to use it. So there is competition on that. But of course, comparing the road and the railway, of course, railway need a huge amount of investment. Therefore, financially, it's very difficult to compete with the private mode of transport. Construction cost is very huge. So in most of the city, it is impossible to obtain the profit thoroughly with those fare revenue by its nature. And of course, public transport is for people, not for rich people, I can say. So the fare cannot be very high. Therefore, we cannot expect to charge a higher fee for the users. But for the highway, let's say, many of the users are fleet truck, and they can afford to pay higher fee for have a good profit for the project. But for the railway, especially urban railway, it is very difficult to put those high fare because of the contribution to the people, not to the higher economic activities. And also, this figure shows the number of the passenger by year and the starting of operation of the line in Osaka, Metro Japan. So you can see here that first line started in 1933, and number of passenger is increasing by adding some lines. So it means that only one line or two lines cannot get the people's attraction, because if direction is on that road, on that line, of course people may use, but after that, if there's no mode of transportation, it's very difficult. So the number of passengers increasing by adding more and more lines to make it like network. Therefore, if it's only 1 or 2 lines, it's very difficult to get passenger, and financially it's difficult. But PPP project, which especially developing country, was attracted due to the lack of the government budget. So it means that there is no network yet, like here in Hanoi. Also, Bangkok started PPP project without any network when they started the SkyTrain. So only solo line, it's very difficult to get the passenger. That's why financially it's difficult. Yeah, this is the same case. Bangkok BTS SkyTrain, that is the first line in Bangkok, and actually that in this red line shows their estimated daily ridership in the first year, but after starting in 1999, it took nearly 15 years to reach the estimated ridership in first years, with added some extension and second line and third line. This is the situation. So it means that at the initial stage, it's very difficult to expect the PPP project, and it could be happened after completing the network of the project, of the metro lines. Okay, but it means that there's no way to develop the metro. Of course, there's a way. Maybe one of the expected measure is that adding some tax revenue by urban railway construction. Development urban railway is not only for the contributing transportation, but also the urban development itself. As you can see, in Taodien area along the Hanoi Highway, there are many projects. There are many residential projects, high-rise residential projects in Ho Chi Minh City. That is, of course, expecting that future opening of the station of the Ho Chi Minh Line 1, Bentan Suy Tien. So we can expect that increasing of the land value by adding new infrastructure, and we may have scheme to get some percentage from that kind of the increasing using that tax. We call it value capture method. So you can see this is just example of the Mongolia, Ulaanbaatar. So the adding some, this is just the calculation, but getting some tax by the value capture by this one. So it can cover total investment cost for the infrastructure. So anyway, this is just the calculation, but this kind of the method also kind of the promising. And you can see in this diagram, it's saying that the relationship between government, O&M company, and the passenger. Actually, the level of service is really depending on what kind of the service O&M company providing. But if the level of service is decreasing, O&M company's investment for O&M cost is also cannot be increased. Therefore, number of passenger is decreasing, and they cannot earn enough money, and they also lead to the lower service level, and then this is kind of the bad circulation. If we have good investment at initial stage by subsidy or fare system, we have the strong profit and loss of the O&M company, so we can provide a better level of service and more passenger. So this is a good circulation. So we try to somehow find out the good circulation of this kind of scheme. So this is one of the example. This situation was it was in the Jakarta, Indonesia. So you can see before that they have very they are very shortage of the investment. That's why you can see that the passenger, there are many demand, but the investment from government is very little. That's why the passenger is riding on the above the roof of the train. This is very dangerous. But that one was happening. So what happened in the Jakarta? At first, they tried to get some used rolling stock from Japan in the cheaper price and try to get some subsidy. Of course, this is the second hand, but of course it's not free. So of course they get some subsidy from government and try to increase the level of service, and they can provide the better service. So this is kind of the good circulation. Starting from the not big amount of the investment, but starting from what they can do, they try to increase the level of service, and then they try to increase the number of passengers to match the demand, and then also getting some subsidy from government. So they try to make a good circulation, as I showing in the last diagram. And also what we can do to add some financial sustainability is we call it a non-rail business. So the station, there are many people gathering. So where people gather, we have the chance for the commercial purpose, like selling the coffee, selling the something, some restaurant or something. That kind of the business is the very promising. Also the advertisement. So you can add such kind of the function to O&M company. So you can expect some financial sustainability to have better level of service. In this book, there are some, the example of the Japanese private company. Basically, surprisingly, as I said earlier, there are 207 railway companies in Japan, but most of them has no subsidy from government. So, and many of the private railway company has their own urban development real estate business. So after they develop their railway system, of course they are also the real estate company. So they are the one who developed the land near the station. So as a whole, they can still provide a better service of the railway system, including some good urban development. So if you're interested, you can see, some study in this book. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. So the KISS rail, or key to implement successfully sustainable urban railway, which are described in the book in KISS rail 2 by JATS in 2020, I explained. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Akira HOSOMI, for a very in-depth solution for the sustainable development of the urban rails, because we can see that in urban rail, the investments in just one line is huge money, and because of the system would require a network so that the passenger can be very flexible in going from this point to another point. So yes, with having only one line, like even Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City right now, I think it's still a really big problem for it to be very effective in terms of financially and giving the convenience for the passengers.
Exactly, yes.
Yes, so anyone, you had questions for Dr. Akira, please open the microphone and ask him directly. It's very interesting presentations.
Hello. Yes, we can hear you, Professor Huang.
Yeah. Dr. Hosomi, you have a very nice and very good presentation. Thank you very much for very interesting talk. As we know, Japan have more than 100 year experience of urban railway. As you show in the picture, Osaka first line is from 1933, right? The first line. And also Thailand, Bangkok have more than 30, more than I think 30 years old history, and Vietnam just started through 3 or 4 days before. I heard the news, but we started open the #1 in Hanoi, #1 urban railway in Hanoi, and it's very good experience you share in the talk in this seminar. It's and I think that the experience of Japan is what help us Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi very much. I don't understand one content in your presentation. You say that underground cannot attract PPP. I mean, you mean that underground railway cannot apply in the PPP process. That means private sector not interested in joining our construction process in urban railway or so. But only I mean only like a monorail or maybe some railway urban underground railway cannot apply in PPP. Only monorail or other mean and can apply for PPP in the process. Could you maybe explain again why? Is it because I heard there's some underground railway, private railway in Tokyo. So could you explain me about why you should say so?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, actually, this is very good point. Is that at first that as I explained that there are 200 private railway company in Japan, but none of them operate metro. I mean subway. So basically, they operate on ground railway. So what is what is the key success of that one? Is that, as I said earlier, that they are basically real estate company, urban developing country. The company. So when they started, they purchased the land first in a cheaper price, and then they make that area by connecting urban area to area which they develop. So they can expect to buy in the cheaper price, but land value will be increased by their infrastructure made by them. At first, of course, they can't expect that much of income, but as land value increased, of course, business is also getting increased. So they can, they invest another line, which they will start to buy the land first. So that is how they started actually their business. But talking about the metro or subway, basically the the government is investing because of the huge cost for the infrastructure. But in urban area like Tokyo or Osaka, of course, it's very difficult to develop the line as only on the surface. So we have the metro system, but basically those are operated constructed by the public. And actually, the difficulty of the PPP in difference with the private investment of the Japanese railway company here is that basically PPP, the money is coming from the investor, especially foreign investor. And foreign investor is interested in get back their investment, not so long time. Maybe 10 years is the, that's the maximum. If they cannot get within 10 years back their money, it's not, it's good business. But as I said earlier, railway takes a long time. It cannot be covered only 10 years. So that's why there are some difficulties of the PPP. But talking about the private company, of course they can see more longer point of view, because that is their investment, that is their money. That's why they can, eventually they can, they get back their investment. But so I think that's the difference. If they just lend the money from bank, of course that could be very difficult. Thank you.
So one more question is because PPP consists one part of private and one part of government, public sector.
Yes.
So even this also can not attract the investor.
Of course, that is depending on how you share the how you share the responsibility and also the role of the project. As I can see, as I shown in my presentation, that many railway project is kind of done in the vertical separation. It means that the infrastructure and the rolling stock and railway system could be different. So infrastructure is the one which need a lot of investment. So maybe successful way is that to use the vertical, the separation. So the infrastructure can be done by the government money, and we can, they get some private investment for operating by purchasing a rolling stock or signaling system or something. I think that can be, be the successful, I think.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Huang and Dr. Akira. Any other questions? I may take the last one. If
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, and especially for Mr. Akira-san. Thank you so much for your informative and interesting presentation. And on behalf of VTCL Investment Limited Company, I would like to ask you kind of like a question related to the future of metro or Shinkansen. And I focus on education and training. So I would like you to talk more about the futures of Shinkansen or metro in Vietnam, in specific, or in Southeast Asia countries in general, because I focus on the safety and convenience for the urban presidency. And thank you so much for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
So actually I think the direction of the Vietnam, I think it's right to focusing on the public transport, the metro right now, because if you develop the highway in the urban area, it's very difficult because the urban population is growing much faster than the capacity of the road, and the people still in Vietnam, not the majority own their car, but as economy grows, of course, people want to have car, not a motorbike. So in that case, if we chase only to the highway development in urban area, there's some saturated point, I think. So I think especially in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, two big cities in Vietnam, I think the developing its metro is the way of direction. But only, as I explained in my presentation, only one line cannot be, enough. So we have to continue to develop the urban railway. But for that one, of course, Vietnam cannot rely on the foreign investment or foreign technology forever. So I think that's very important to also have the the training or education, the system inside the country of Vietnam, and actually that the railway college which I explained earlier. Now I think they are trying to start their kind of the course for urban railway with the technical support from the JICA. So I think we can expect in such a scheme that they're getting some technology transfer from the foreign countries to have such kind of the educational training center or something. So I think that's I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. And especially for IATSS, I mean International Association for Traffic and Safety Sciences. And I do know that we have kinds of cooperation and a kinds of leadership training program. And we also talk about that. So that's the reason why I want to say thank you so much. And especially in the future, we would like to have more and more kinds of mutual understanding programs. So we got the relationship between our government for that. And once again, thank you so much. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've been having a very effective keynote lectures this morning, even that we're a bit overdue now. So I think we're gonna finish the first keynote lecture here. So I leave it to the MC to go on with the next. Thank you very much.